making sense of Great Britain's exit from the European Union and George Will's exit from the Republican Party. Who's George Will? I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
The price of gold going up. The price of stocks going down. The value of the pound going down, stabilizing, going down. Oh my goodness, what will we do? The divorce papers have, in fact, been filed. Great Britain is officially leaving the European Union. Now, there's two things that we're going to discuss on today's program. One is some of the actual particulars and what it means, and then the other is the political reality on the ground that is behind the divorce, behind the exit. Let's talk about the political reality first. The majority of the people in Great Britain, and especially, by the way, in England, because you have to remember that Northern Ireland, Wales, Scotland, England proper, they make up Great Britain. And the people, the overwhelming majority of people in England and Wales said, we're done. We are out of here. There was actually a servant in government killed, God rest her soul, killed by somebody who was saying put England first. She was murdered in a public setting. The people of England have had it, and the point where the pimple pops is immigration. You need to remember that, because the Republicans and the Democrats in America, the machine, they're watching. And Hillary Clinton's people are in panic over this. But I'm getting ahead of myself. When the European Union was formed, one of the things that they said, all right, this is the deal. You want to be in on this? A passport in any one of our nations means that anyone can go anywhere in all of the European Union nations. When the nations who agreed to be in the European Union cut the deal, they said if you've got a passport from one of these member nations, you can travel freely to all member nations. It almost made it like the United States. Not exactly, not quite, but close. If you're in New York, you cross the border into Pennsylvania, no big deal. Pennsylvania goes straight into West Virginia. And the English people said, we're being overrun. There's an immigration crisis going on, and it regards Muslims from the Middle East, and it involves terrorism, okay? That's the driving, emotional, visceral, motivating force going on with the average Joe in the English pubs, okay? The elite said, ignore that. This is going to cause all kinds of problems for us. And they said, you know what? I'm not interested. Now just step back for a minute and imagine that we cut some kind of a deal where Canada and Mexico and Costa Rica and Haiti would decide who came into our country because we cut a deal with them. We would have no right to stop them. All right, forget the illegal immigration crisis. At that point, anybody with a Mexican passport could just come into America. So the English people, by a significant majority, said, we are done. We are out. Now, if you are Germany, right now the weight of this is going to fall to you. I need to, before I get ahead of myself, let me finish up with a couple of key points. They created the euro. You will remember that the euro is the second largest currency in the world, but it's way distant to the American dollar. When England came into the European Union, they refused to surrender their currency, and accommodations had to be made for them. Now again, picture America, Canada, Mexico sharing the same currency, okay? The English early on said, we're not doing that. We are the pound, as sound as the pound. The pound was the currency of the world for a long time, and it is still one of the most stable currencies in the world. And the English government, the English people said, we will never give up the pound. Let the French give up the franc. Let the Germans give up the Deutschmark. Let the Italians give up the lira. We are not giving up the pound. And so the members of the European Union gave up their currency, and they gave up certain rights to control their borders. Now, I want you to stop for a minute and just think that one through. If you don't control your own currency and you don't control your own borders, what does that make you? Are you really a nation anymore? Are you really your own free and sovereign independent nation? No, because you don't get to control your border and you don't get to control your currency. And the English people finally said, we're done with this nightmare. We're getting out. I'll be right back. Stay with me. If you own a business and would like to advertise on our program, please contact us. We are currently seen on over 130 television stations from coast to coast. We air at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then all times are local. We have a lot of reach, friend, and this is an opportunity at a great price for you to get your product or your service in front of hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people. Also, if there's something that's important to you and you'd like to have a month where you just say thank you to this ministry or promote a certain ministry or a certain cause, contact us. Our rates are incredibly affordable. You'd be surprised. And you, again, can reach into hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of homes. We're currently seen possibly in over 30 million homes. So give us a call, give us an email, and we'll put a commercial up for you. Let's talk about Turkey. Now, Turkey is not a full member yet of the European Union. All right? They are trying to get there. And the European Union has said that they've met a certain number of the criteria, but not all yet. But where this is headed is if somebody has a Turkish passport, go ahead, think it through. They can go anywhere in Europe. Now, we have a massive amount of illegal immigration that is going through Turkey at various points. Turkey is trying to buffer back against the people coming in from Syria. But the bigger problem with Turkey is that there are so many so-called radical Muslims there. All right? There are people there who believe in Sharia law. Turkey is where Istanbul is. Istanbul used to be Constantinople. Hagia Sophia. Let's look at this picture of Hagia Sophia. It was the most famous and largest church in the world right up until St. Peter's was built, and then Hagia Sophia was stolen by the Muslims and converted into a mosque. Now it's a museum. Almost 100 years ago, Ataturk, Kemal Ataturk was the leader of Turkey at that point and said, we're going to take this from being a mosque and make it a museum. Nevertheless, it's not a church. Christianity was obliterated in Turkey by Muslims. Armenian Christians were slaughtered in Turkey by Muslims. And there is a huge portion of the Turkish population that are radical Muslims that want Sharia law. And so there's European nations that are saying the minute that they get the full green light for the European Union, these radical, devout Muslims can have full access through our borders, and we can't stop them. You better believe they're nervous. And Turkey's a member of NATO. They're a member of NATO. I mean, let the full weight of that sink in on you. So when Turkey shot down that Russian jet a few months ago, if Russia had said, we're going to fight Turkey, Turkey could have invoked the NATO alliance and said, you guys all have to defend us, including America, from Russia. So we've got a radical Muslim-based nation, historically one of the great enemies of Christianity and a great enemy of liberty to this day, in NATO and trying to get into the European Union. Okay? Now just picture you're an Englishman and you're thinking, Turkey wants to have it so that they can come into my country anytime they want. I don't think so. And so the people said, we're done. Cameron, the prime minister, who has been He's been squishy. He doesn't understand Islamic terrorism. He has tried to help the United States of America, but he just doesn't get it. He staked his political future on staying in the European Union, and he lost. So he announced that he is going to resign, and they will try and have a new prime minister in by October to lead Great Britain into this next era. But the average person in the street in England is rejoicing. They're just thrilled. And the average person at the upper echelon, the elitist, they're shook. They're shook. And the Democrat Party is shook because it's the same spirit. Do you understand? It's the same spirit. The spirit of patriotism. This is our country. These are our borders. This is our money. And we don't want people just to be able to come here, especially people who will not assimilate. They will not assimilate. You know, when the elite who are deceivers, who are not educated properly when it comes to the history of Islam and the history of Islamic terrorism, they're just not. When they try and say, well, look what happened when the Italians came here, or the Irish, or the Germans, and all of the infighting. Right, but here was the glaring difference. The Irish were Catholic. The Italians were Catholic. The Germans were either Lutheran Protestants or Bavarian Catholics. So at the end of the day, there might have been language barriers, and there might have been cultural differences, and there might have been fights over jobs, but they still went to church, they went to Mass, and they said, Jesus is Lord. We believe the Apostles' Creed. And within a generation, they learned English, and they assimilated, and their kids were playing with each other, no problem. But with Islam, they're not going to assimilate in one generation or two or three, because you and I, the non-Muslims, we are the infidels, all right? I've got to take another break, but stay with me, because I'm tired of people mixing and matching, comparing Italians to Muslims. I'm an Italian, and I ain't a Muslim, I promise you. Friend, this program is supported by friends like you who believe in what we are doing. We run a very tight ship. Thankfully, we are on over 130 stations across the country, having tremendous impact. We get emails every day. We get letters in the mail, not every day, but almost every day. We hear from people who love what we're doing. What people don't understand is that it's sort of expensive to produce a television show like this. It doesn't require earth-shattering funds, but it does require financial help. So I am asking you, if you enjoy this program, throw us a $10 or a $20 bill every once in a while, or even a $50 or a $100 check. You see the address there on the screen. Your gifts are not tax deductible, by the way, because we want to be able to say what we want to say regarding politics without the IRS telling us no. So if you like the program, I ask for your support. Why should we care what happens to people over there on the other side of the Great Lake? Or is that the big pond? Or is it an ocean? I don't even know. It's the Atlantic Ocean. We, as Americans, we're isolated so often. And it's not just that we're isolated by the water, it's that we're isolated by the news and the hype. There will be more time spent in the news on who got married and who got divorced in Hollywood than over England pulling out of the European Union and its ramifications for us and for the rest of the world. But what's happening in Hollywood probably doesn't have the temporal and at times the eternal consequences of battles with nations. Randall, are you telling me there are eternal consequences? Of course I am. If you look at the history of the Ottoman Empire and its crushing defeat of Constantinople, the jewel of the East, of Byzantium, rather, as we call it, if you look at that history, eternity was affected because tens of millions of people came under the heel of a heretical religion called Islam. that damns men to perdition without their Savior, the Lord Jesus Christ. So yeah, I really think crazy things like eternity matters with wars and with battles and with nations. And that's why there is such a devilish, and by that I mean devil, a devilish interest in wars and in death and in slavery and in promoting heresy and lies, because men's eternal souls and women's eternal souls are at risk. But let's come back around. This, for just the temporary stuff. The average American is starting to say, I want my border protected. And this is why Hillary's people are looking at this and they're panic-stricken. They're panic-stricken because that spirit of patriotism is churning. That spirit of protect our borders is churning. Can you imagine if we were in a situation where our currency and our borders were not controlled by us? It's unthinkable to us. And that's what England was facing when they wanted to get into the Union, and they did, but they said, no, we're not doing it with our currency. And then they faced it and said, look, we're getting out. We're out. We're going to control our borders. And yes, this is going to be difficult. Yes, it's going to cause some rocky waves. But I want you to understand something, people. There's a very significant patriot movement, love patris, love of our fathers, or the land of our fathers, in France and in Germany. All right? And the Germans and the French are the big players left in the European Union. Okay? And there are people there who are enraged by Merkel's immigration policy and all of the hundreds of thousands of Muslims that are flooding and sexually assaulting women. All right? They're enraged by the no-go zones in France where non-Muslim police just don't go. It's like there's little islands of complete autonomy to commit crimes, gangsterism, Islam. I mean, it's there. And there's people in France and in Germany that are saying, you know what? If the English can get out, let's get out too. And oh, by the way, we're tired of bailing out Greece. And we're tired of bailing out Ireland. There's something called the pigs inside the European Union: Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain. And that's an acronym, that's a disrespectful acronym that's given them because they have weak, unstable economies. And Greece has had to be bailed out how many times? They can't even pay down their debt. And who's stepping up? The Germans, the French. Well, what does that mean? It means the German taxpayer is bailing out Greece banks because, oh, look, Greece is in the European Union and Greece is on the euro. And there's people that are starting to say, you know, maybe the good old days weren't so bad when we controlled our own currency and we controlled our own border. And so Donald Trump is standing over there saying, I'm going to build a wall. I'm going to have a temporary ban on Muslims coming to the country. And there is a growing number of people. The poll just showed that a majority of Americans, more Americans believe that we should have a temporary ban on Muslims coming in than don't. I think the number is like 48 in favor of what Trump said and 30 is against it, and then the rest are undecided. But that shows the numbers going up like this. Temporary ban on Muslims, build a wall, protect our borders. Oh my goodness, this is insanity. This is horrible. This is bigotry. This is the worst of the worst of the worst. This is patriotism. Ah. I want to invite you to go to our website. Almost every book that I have ever written is available as a PDF online for free. We have a ton of products, training materials, tools that are available for you for free. All we ask for is that you give us your email address. That's it, so that we can stay in touch with you and, yes, from time to time, ask you to support this work. So I'm inviting you, go to the website. Now, for those of you who say, well, I don't want a PDF, I want a real book. You can get one of my books. All you have to do is pay for shipping and handling and then give whatever gift you want. And if you can't afford anything, we'll send you the book. for free. Just pay shipping and handling. Why are we doing all this? Because we want to change the direction of the country, and we need to raise up a fresh generation of warriors to do that. That's why we have this tool. I invite you, go to the website, see for yourself. Look at this man. Do you recognize him? George Will. George Will, he's a columnist. He's a frequent guest on various networks, cable networks. He's an elitist. He fancies himself the brains, not the brawn, but the brains of the Republican Party. And he has said, I am leaving the Republican Party over Donald Trump's comments about the Mexican judge who is hearing one of his cases involving Trump University. Now, most people are going, who's George Will? Why do we care if he leaves the Republican Party? You don't. And I say to Mr. Will, bye-bye, good riddance. You're part of the problem. Mr. Will, we're actually revolting against you. The uprising is against you. We're glad you're leaving. Can you take some of your elitist friends with you, please? Oh, this is not the Republican Party that you believed in anymore? Oh, the one you mean made in your own image? The elitist one that is so condescending? You'll get in bed with baby killers. You'll cut deals with people that want to butcher human beings. You won't raise much of a fuss when there is a sin and a crime against heaven that cries out to God called homosexual marriage. But when Donald Trump says that he doesn't think he can get a fair trial because of the ethnic background of a judge, that's going to prompt you to leave the Republican Party. It's actually funny. Do you see it? And then I think what's even funnier, and it's almost cute, is that most Americans don't know who he is. And so his departure from the Republican Party shows the incestuous, elitist, moneyed, who's going to the party and serving the $80 bottle of whiskey, the $500 bottle of wine. These are people that live in another world. And it's not so much the world that we live in out here in the hinterland, we unwashed Philistines. No. It's inside the Beltway. It's, what show are you talking on? Hey, I saw what you did the other night. I saw that clip on CNN. Nice job. Oh, your piece got published in the Wall Street Journal. Boy, can you believe what so-and-so is doing? Hey, did you hear about who landed the deal to buy the airtime for candidate so-and-so? Really? Yeah, and they're doing it at 13%, not the regular 15%. It's just a whole world that most of us know nothing about, but it impacts us day in and day out because they're the ones behind the scenes that are making policy, pulling little strings, cutting little deals. And we don't even know who to blame, really. We've got rage towards Mitch McConnell and John Boehner, so much so that Boehner resigned, okay? We've got rage towards the Republican establishment, but we don't really know who to blame. It's guys like George Will, okay? And now he's saying, this is out of my control, I'm leaving. Good, go. And he hates that spirit of patriotism. He's an elitist, okay? Many of us need to wake up to the fact that the Democrat elitist and the Republican elitist, there is oftentimes, there's not a dime's worth of difference between them. That's why the Republican elitists like George Will would sooner have Hillary Clinton as president. Let the full weight of that sink in on you. Every time you get an email, a phone call, a fundraising letter, you watch one of these people on TV talk, and I'm talking about Republicans, so-called conservative Republicans. Every time you hear them say that they won't vote for Trump, that they won't support Trump, or anything in between, what they're in fact saying is they love the status quo. They love what's normal right now so much that they would rather have normal Hillary than abnormal Trump as the president. They are saying that their love of the Republican Party is so deep, so profound, so principled, that they would rather have Hillary Clinton, the Democrat, as president. than Donald Trump, the Republican. This is treachery of the highest order. It's insanity. It's immoral. I don't have enough time to give you the long list of adjectives. I'll explain them another time. But I'm telling you, if you would see Hillary as president, there's something wrong with your ethical compass. You're warped in your soul, and you need help.